Pastor Brian from Summit Church here. Fall ministry is gearing up over the next several weeks. Back to Awana night is this Monday, and a couple weeks after that, Awana will start. Women's Bible study, men's Bible study, divorce care, a bunch of other stuff. And there's one big change happening this fall that may affect some scheduling. That change is the topic for this week's edition of Wednesday's Words with Pastor Brian. The big change is that our youth ministry is dividing into two separate groups that'll meet on different nights. The middle school students will meet on Wednesday nights, and the high school group will meet on Sunday nights. You know, there's a big difference between a kid who's just starting sixth grade. I mean, they were a fifth grader 3 months ago. And a high school senior who's applying for colleges this fall. Dividing the groups will make it easier to address the differences between these groups with respect to their stage in life and the issues they're facing spiritually. I think it also makes it easier to grow these groups when they're more age specific. The high school group is more attractive to students when the younger middle school age kids aren't there, and I think middle school parents feel safer for their kids when those larger, older kids aren't there playing games and stuff. So dividing the groups makes sense from a ministry perspective, and it positions the groups for growth. Now, most of the parents of the youth already know about this change, and it's the main topic for tonight's parents' meeting. But I want the rest of the congregation to hear this as well because it points to a couple of things. First, it shows that our youth group has grown. When we hired Josh 2 years ago, there were about a dozen kids. We now have 3 times as many on a regular basis. Many of you watching this don't interact with the youth group, so you may not be aware of this. It's good for the broader church family to know what's going on and to rejoice that teenagers are coming and they're learning about Jesus. But the other thing y'all need to know is that the youth group will now not only be in the building on Wednesday nights like they have been for years, but they'll also be here on Sunday nights beginning September 10th. And that may affect some other groups and ministries. For example, my small group has been meeting in the living room here at church for the last 3 years. We now have to move to make room for the senior high group. And I want to make clear this is the right thing for us to do. You know, it's really easy for all the decisions at a church to be made in a way that meets the needs of grown-ups. And I take the opposite approach. Some of you have heard me say this before. As a pastor, I will almost always defer to the needs of kids and teenagers. And here's the reason why that's the right thing to do. If I asked everyone in my small group if they had made a decision to follow Jesus, I guarantee that every single person in the room would say yes. If I asked them if they intended to stay true to that commitment for the rest of their lives, I'm positive that once again, they would all answer yes. But here's the thing, those senior high kids, they're still making those decisions. And I believe that adults who've already decided to follow Jesus should be the ones to flex and sacrifice and move rooms or locations or whatever else might be helpful so young people will decide that they want to follow Jesus too. So my group had to find a new location. We're going to meet in someone's home rather than here in the living room at church with the couches and the fireplace and all that. My prayer is that the high school kids who will now be here on Sunday nights will become lifelong followers of Jesus. And that's our vision, right? Making lifelong followers of Jesus who become more like him every day. Decisions should be made with that vision in focus. Even if it means we may not get what we want as adults, it's worth it for the kingdom if it helps us reach the next generation.